just a couple more minutes and we'll get started. Thanks for your patience. Okay, it's almost 4 o'clock. While we're waiting for the clock to tick, I just want to make sure everybody can hear me. If you can hear me, will you please hit the hand raise button just so I can make sure everybody's online and functioning properly? Okay, great. It looks like everybody can hear me. Wonderful. Okay, so hello everyone and welcome to today's Maryland Gives More webinar, Giving Tuesday for Foundations and Funders. I'm Allison Albert, your host for today, as well as the campaign coordinator for Maryland Gives More, and also the Membership Marketing Director for Maryland Nonprofit. First, I want to share a couple of things about Maryland Nonprofit's involvement in Maryland Gives More, and also about today's webinar, and then I'll introduce our presenter. To eliminate background noise, I would appreciate it if you could mute your phone line. I think our presenter has a dog in the background, so you might continue to hear that, but for the rest of you, if you don't mind pressing *6 to mute your line, I would greatly appreciate it. Okay, so in case you aren't aware, Maryland Nonprofits is a state association of nonprofit organizations. Our mission is to help nonprofits achieve their missions more easily. We offer assistance with important things nonprofits need, like best practices in management and governance, discounts on insurance, or in today's case, fundraising. We are the organization leading the Maryland Gives More campaign, but as such, we're receiving no additional financial benefit or gain. It's our honor to serve in this capacity to benefit the nonprofit sector in Maryland. And just a quick plug, I did want to mention that membership with Maryland Nonprofits is available to any interested organization in the state. If you're not a member and would like more information about joining, please visit marylandnonprofits.org. Or you can contact me directly. I'll share my contact information via the chat window. If you are a current member, thank you very much. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. So a few notes about today's webinar. I'll go through and mute everyone's lines just to eliminate background noise. Please submit any questions that you have during the presentation via the chat window, and we will answer them in a facilitated Q&A at the end of the presentation. And if we don't get to your question, we'll do the best to respond to it via email. We will be recording today's presentation and posting it on the Nonprofit Toolkit page at marylandgivesmore.com. That is the campaign headquarters for Maryland Gives More. And we will share a copy of the PowerPoint presentation with you afterwards in a follow-up email. So now I'm pleased to introduce our speaker, Jamie McDonald. Jamie is the president of Generosity, Inc. Her mission is to spur people to give, act, and innovate on behalf of communities, causes, and schools. After 16 years as an investment banker, Jamie shifted her personal mission to innovation and growth of the generosity economy. In addition to working with hundreds of nonprofits on their individual fundraising, in 2013, Jamie led BMORE Gives More, the Giving Tuesday movement that raised $5.7 million in a single day and earned Baltimore the Most Generous City in America honor. In 2014, she served as the lead advisor to Maryland nonprofit's Maryland Gives More campaign that raised $9.2 million, as well as leading Network for Good's record-breaking Giving Tuesday campaign, which engaged nearly 4,000 nonprofits in a day of generosity, tallying more than $4 million. So needless to say, she's a generosity expert, and we're very lucky to have her here with us today. Jamie, why don't you take it away?
Thank you so much, Allison. Can you hear me okay?
I sure can.
Okay, great. So I do want to apologize ahead of time because it never fails. I do these webinars from home because it is 95% of the time the quietest place I can be, and without fail, Allison can tell you, one of my dogs will see a squirrel, the mailman comes, something happens. So so consider it part of the energy and excitement for Giving Tuesday. All my dogs chiming in. But I'm very excited to be with you guys here today, and obviously this is a small group. We anticipated, because the funder and foundation community in the areas is quite concentrated, that we'd have a small but powerful team of participants today, and what we would ask each of you to consider doing is, if you find the content of today's webinar useful, please consider sharing what you learn and what your takeaways are from today with colleagues, friends, other collaborators in the philanthropic sector, because this has really become a day on the giving calendar that can fuel your grantees as well as just the broader swath of nonprofits in the community to a better December, which, as you all know, is a really critical time of year for nonprofits. So again, please share what you learned, share the information that we're going to be sending as a follow-up, and thanks again for participating. So just to dive right in, for those of you who don't know, Giving Tuesday has really become the first global day of giving, launching from an idea in 2012 to today. We're anticipating this year that there will be 69 countries participating around the world in Giving Tuesday, millions and millions of donors, tens of thousands of nonprofits and NGOs. And in 2014, the total amount of giving beyond just the platforms that report in through the Case Foundation work, which is what's represented here on the infographic, but we estimate giving around the country at about $100 million. And so it has become a day that is nearly as important on the giving calendar as year-end. And so it's a terrific opportunity for the entire generosity economy to join together in a unified day of giving, sharing, advocating, and engaging on behalf of causes that can change our communities. So why should nonprofits participate in Giving Tuesday? And frankly, why should you consider participating in Giving Tuesday? For the nonprofits, these are really like virtual parties for their cause. It's a day to really rally supporters, prospects, advocates, clients, staff around a day that has tremendous media coverage, has a tremendous social media presence. Giving Tuesday, one metric we follow is the volume of tweets. And Giving Tuesday, both in 2013 and in 2014, had more Twitter volume than Cyber Monday. So just to give you a sense of the magnitude of the Giving Tuesday movement. And therefore it creates a day of real energy and excitement for nonprofits that choose to participate, particularly if they sort of go into it, both feet first and set a goal and really sort of create a Giving Tuesday campaign that rallies support on that particular day. And why should funders participate? Well, we think that there are really three core reasons, but we find on each of these interactions and each of these calls that there are lots of other ones that pop up too. But at a minimum, it's an opportunity to assist and encourage grantees to build support and to capture that news cycle and really focus on opportunities with prospects, with younger givers, with digital givers, all of which are increasingly important in today's giving landscape. And Giving Tuesday is a great day to really come up with innovative strategies for tapping into those audiences. It's a terrific opportunity to collaborate with other funders and partners across sectors, to think about creative ways that you as a group of funding partners can join together to do some initiatives around Giving Tuesday. And we've seen in some communities, we've seen nonprofit funders provide matching funds. We've seen them host sessions for their grantees. There have been lots of ways that people have participated, and we'll talk about a number of those as we go through this discussion today. The third point is that many of you are really considered signature thought leaders in your communities. And so your voice matters. And to the extent that you are sharing the message of Giving Tuesday and the power of Giving Tuesday as a critical day on the calendar to engage donors and potential donors, advocates and clients, it's a really powerful voice that you can lend to the movement. So what are some simple ways that you can start? I'm going to take you through kind of 14, 15 ways that foundations and funders can be part of Giving Tuesday. And I'm going to start from kind of the lowest intensity interactions to things that are more kind of more committed. And the thought is just to give you a menu of possibilities that you can think about, share with your colleagues, and then choose to jump in, which we hope many of you will. But at a minimum, sign up at MarylandGivesMore.com and just stay informed about the campaign. There's so much going on. Maryland has really become a leader in the Giving Tuesday movement. From the BMORE Gives More campaign, which we launched in 2013, to last year's campaign, to this year's campaign, Maryland is really on the map among the entire world as sort of a leader in the Civic Giving Tuesday campaign movement. And our Baltimore playbook is still the playbook that many cities and states and countries, frankly, follow to build their Giving Tuesday movements. And so, at a minimum, sign up to just be kept informed by Maryland Gives More about what's going on. And if you're interested in the national or the global movement, you can also sign up at GivingTuesday.org and stay in touch with what's happening, not just in Maryland, but around the country and around the world. The second way that you can help, again, very low burn, is just share information with grantees. All of you are on mailing lists, email lists with information about Giving Tuesday. I do a weekly email that I share with folks who are interested that has ideas for ways that nonprofits can activate around Giving Tuesday. One very, very simple thing you can do is just, have a periodic email that you send out to your grantees, not recommending, but just sharing information, saying, look, for those of you who are participating in Giving Tuesday, here are some ideas for how you can get involved. So support them with tools and resources that can make them more effective on Giving Tuesday. The next way that you can participate is by considering, dipping your toe in the water. Experience it for yourself. So think about encouraging your staff or your trustees, your employees, to themselves find a couple of nonprofits that they're passionate about and go through the experience, go on Twitter, go on Facebook, kind of watch Giving Tuesday this first year, but make a few donations, see how it works. Start to get a feel for how Giving Tuesday affects the nonprofits that you care about, and then begin to formulate some thoughts and ideas about how you might want to participate, if not this year, perhaps next year. You all have, we talked about the big megaphone that many philanthropic leaders have. Well, beyond just your sort of voice as thought leaders, most of you have things like newsletters. You've got newsletters. Some of you are on social media. So, sort of a next step into your involvement in Giving Tuesday is to begin to share more broadly with the community through your website, through your newsletter, through social media, information about Giving Tuesday. Perhaps highlight creative campaigns that have taken place around the country. There's lots of examples of those. I share them periodically, but there are many examples that you can just find on the Internet if you're looking for more sort of tactical content. Or you can begin to share the information that you could get through the Maryland Gives More campaign or the National Giving Tuesday campaign. But begin to think about how you can be a voice or an advocate in the community for Giving Tuesday more broadly. The next thing is really to take that next step and encourage your grantees to get involved. So now you're not just sort of neutrally sharing information. Now you're really sort of saying, like, we get it. We understand why Giving Tuesday, can really matter. And we want to encourage our grantees to really use this opportunity to build a base of individual givers. And here are some tools and resources that we have access to that we want to share out with our grantees. So, if you find that you buy in, that you believe, and that you understand the power of Giving Tuesday, here's a chance to really take that next step of really encouraging grantees to jump on board and capitalize on the energy and excitement about the movement. The next opportunity is to really think about directly supporting your Community Giving Tuesday campaign. Lots of ways that you can do this. You can join a coordinating committee. Allison leads a group of partners, probably 10, 15 strong or so, that do a lot of the creative thinking, that do a lot of the organization. The heavy lifting is definitely done by Allison and Maryland Nonprofits, but there are lots of other people who are involved in terms of PR and marketing and information sharing, and so that's something that you could choose to do, time and talent. In terms of treasure, one of the things that's really powerful in these campaigns is when there's just a little bit of money for marketing, because the more that we can get the word out around the city and around the state about the campaign, the more we can help nonprofits activate and raise more funds to do more good on Giving Tuesday. So again, a number of ways that you can get involved in terms of supporting the civic campaign that's going to take place around the state of Maryland this year. Next, you could really think about stepping it up. Now we're kind of taking the next big leap up. One of the ways that you can really help your nonprofit grantees to make the most of a day like Giving Tuesday is to provide them with matching funds that really, we all know, all the evidence shows, make a huge difference in the ability for them to activate prospects into donors and donors into bigger donors. And so, we all know, the sort of the dollar for dollar concept, but it doesn't take that much. PayPal's done quite a bit of research on its 1% match, which so they give a penny for every dollar on certain campaigns, and they find that it activates people up to 40% more with just that penny on a dollar. Now, in an individual nonprofit's outreach, that might be a tougher sell, but we have found consistently that as little as $1 for every 10 can really move the needle and can, again, cause nonprofits can cause donors to both activate who might be on the fence and also to give more if they're prior donors. Another thing that we've seen in prior years in both Baltimore and Maryland campaigns and then in others around the country is funders who elect to actually make grants to existing or new grantees on GivingTuesday. Perhaps it's a series of special grants that focus on a particular kind of success or a particular cause area that you're excited about as an organization. But it's a really exciting day to sort of recognize grantees and their hard work all through the year and consider special grants that might be acknowledging particular accomplishments or achievements of nonprofits that are in your portfolio. The next is to be a bit more deliberate and actually challenge nonprofits in your grantee base to accomplish particular strategic goals. And this is an opportunity that I'm very passionate about because I feel like we've got this tremendous opportunity as leaders in philanthropy to not only encourage nonprofits to do the things that they can do, but to do the things that they should do. And one of the things that nearly every nonprofit should be thinking about is a recurring giving program, a monthly givers program. And in some cases, they should be thinking about activating with peer fundraising. Those are two strategies that can really leverage the energy and the capacity of development directors and their staffs. Monthly giving in particular is a complete reframing of the relationship between a donor and a nonprofit. I'm sure most of you are familiar with it, but I'll give you my 2 cents on it as somebody who's works with thousands and thousands of nonprofits. One of the trickiest parts of the relationship between nonprofits and donors is the fact that the power relationship is all in the donor's hands. The donors are being asked constantly, and they have a choice each time to say yes or no. When you shift a relationship to a monthly giving relationship, you're really turning that relationship on its head. And that donor is in essence raising their hand saying, you're important to me and I want to support you. And now the nonprofit simply has to celebrate, share stories, reinforce the impact that donor has, but they're out of the asking game typically for a very, very long time. The other key thing about monthly donors versus first-time donors is only 27% of first-time donors in any given year are going to give again to a nonprofit that they've supported. But with monthly givers, their average duration of the monthly giving program in terms of their relationship with a nonprofit is over 4 years. So if you just think about the efficiency, if nothing else, the consistency of that cash flow, the ability to steward those donors and keep them feeling excited about your mission and being advocates and ambassadors for the cause, it's just so critical. And so one of the most powerful roles you could potentially play is in really laying down the challenge to nonprofits in your grantee base to pursue a strategic goal like monthly givers on GivingTuesday. The next way that you can consider participating is in many communities there are community matching fund pools for GivingTuesday. And sometimes they're organized through the organizer. So Maryland Nonprofits has made the decision not to do that. They certainly could. But there are still ways to do it where if a group of funders wanted to get together and have a community matching fund pool, they could make it about strategic accomplishments, as we just mentioned, like most monthly givers. And obviously it's a bit of the honor code, so people are going to have to report in and then be awarded these challenges. But it could also be for things like most creative campaigns or staff picks from the various funders' organizations to sort of say like what campaigns really inspired them, and then those nonprofits get a sort of a special recognition through some kind of a matching fund or special challenge grant. So that's another way, again, to build a little bit of that sense of community activation, not just individual nonprofit activation. The next way to be involved is not just to do all these things that we've talked about, but talk to your colleagues. Talk to other funders. Encourage them to get involved. Explain what you're doing as a model for the community, and invite them to participate alongside you. People often resist jumping in until they know they've got a friend who they can jump in with, and the same is true in initiatives like GivingTuesday and funders. We find that it sort of takes a couple people saying, we get the importance of this and we really want to make this a priority for our grantees and for the broader community. And when they start to spread that message, other people come on board as well. A couple of specifics here for certain kinds of foundations and funders, since I don't know exactly who's on the phone. But if you're a community foundation representative, one of the ways that you can engage with GivingTuesday is on both sides of your mission. So we've talked a lot about grantees, but you also can really use GivingTuesday as an opportunity to encourage new donations into your donor-advised funds, or potentially new people to start funds. Again, GivingTuesday has such a powerful play in the news cycle that it's a day that you can sort of convey a message that's not just about giving and supporting the community, but it's also about fundraising on behalf of your organization. If you're a corporate funder, there are lots of exciting ways that corporate foundations can get involved, or CSR groups can get involved. You can think about having an employee volunteering day. Constellation Energy has done that a number of times on GivingTuesday. You could think about having a Jeans Day where, in companies that still have, have more formal dress, you can offer a Jeans Day where people can give to a nonprofit in the community or a group of nonprofits in the community. You can just also make a grant. If you're a corporate foundation, you could do all the things that we've just talked about, with more traditional foundations and funders. If you're a public charity that kind of sits on both sides of both the giving and fundraising world, think about a GivingTuesday campaign for your organization. We see this a lot with United Ways. It's a terrific opportunity to do a very targeted campaign. Perhaps it's for your young professionals group, or something like meals for families for the holidays, that kind of thing. But you can both serve as an advocate for your grantees, but you can also actually use it as a powerful day on the giving calendar for your mission. The next thing that is really, in my opinion, kind of the biggest, most kind of I'm bought in, I love GivingTuesday, and I really want to participate in a big way, is contribute to the growth of the GivingTuesday movement internationally. So GivingTuesday is run out of the 92nd Street Y, and believe it or not, it is run with a team of 2 people and 2 advisors, and I'm one of them. And it is really the 92nd Street Y's gift to the world. And so there's no sort of natural infrastructure for GivingTuesday beyond these a couple part-time people who also do lots of other programming. And so to the extent that you get passionate about GivingTuesday and really sort of see the value of the movement, they do, the 92nd Street Y and GivingTuesday does have a, they do raise some money every year to pay to promote the movement, and for for people like me to be able to work with communities around the country to really help them make the most and their nonprofits make the most of Giving Tuesday. So, this would be, for those foundations and funders that go all in and really get it, this is a way that you can contribute to the movement in a bigger way. So a couple of specific case studies. The Toledo Community Foundation has made Giving Tuesday a priority for the last couple of years. They decided that they wanted to use Giving Tuesday as an opportunity to build capacity in the Toledo market for all nonprofits. And so they have a regional subscriber list of 4,000 nonprofits in the greater Toledo area. They asked nonprofits to sign up, and they required two things of them. They had to report in after Giving Tuesday, so they had to share data about their Giving Tuesday experience, and then they had to go through this sign-up process and just confirm that they in fact were legitimate 501c3s. And for any organization that did that, they were eligible to have up to $1,000 of the dollars that they raised on Giving Tuesday matched. This was a powerful incentive for nonprofits in the community to get on board. They had 200 primarily Toledo, city of Toledo nonprofits sign up, and they had 139 organizations that received the $1,000 match. Those that either didn't report in or didn't raise enough to receive the full $1,000, they may have received something smaller. And they found that across the community in Little Toledo that $300,000 was raised online, and that a tremendous amount of that money raised was from new and younger givers. So they really considered it a tremendous success for the nonprofits in their community in engaging new people, and they were so pleased with the results of the campaign that they're doing it again this year. The next campaign that we'll talk about is right here at home, our BMORE Gives More campaign, which some of you may be familiar with, was our campaign in 2013 to raise $5 million on a day on Giving Tuesday and make Baltimore the most generous city in America. And we had lots and lots of ways that foundations participated. We had foundations that made grants that day. We had foundations that contributed to a matching fund pool. We had corporate foundations that and CSR groups that promoted employee volunteering and employee Jeans Days, and then we had foundations and funders that were really powerful ambassadors for Giving Tuesday in Baltimore and really spread the word through a wide variety of channels. And because of their contribution to our efforts, and team members like Allison, who's been with me from the beginning on this, and my little team at GiveCorps, we not only hit our $5 million goal, which we all thought we were crazy to put out there when we first got started, but we actually raised nearly $6 million on Giving Tuesday and established the standard for civic Giving Tuesday campaigns around the world. The next organization that I'd like to talk about is the Retirement Research Foundation. And I'm not going to give too much of the detail on these next couple of slides on this, but I'll share with you what they did. So they are they're an organization that supports research and grantees. I'll skip to the next slide so you can see it. That work with the elder community in Illinois, and they decided that they wanted to create a one-to-one match up to $5,000 for their member organizations who participated in Giving Tuesday, and they wanted to really sort of help these organizations who often are challenged to raise dollars from individuals. They're very philanthropically dependent, to use this as a chance to really build their individual donor base. They were led by a terrific leader who organized the campaign in a pretty short amount of time last year, and they were thrilled with the results. They had nearly $350,000 raised against a total investment from their team of $82,000. They had 19 organizations participate. They had, most of them reached that full $5,000 match. They had an organization raise as much as $65,000 on that day. Again, you can see 943 donations. New donors were about a third of that, so really exciting participation from new donors, much more than the typical campaign. And they really felt like they learned some, critical lessons. Challenge grants matter. That's not news to any of us, but this really sort of confirmed that even for that organization that raised $65,000 and only got $5,000 in matching funds, that challenge spurs people to act. That they organized their campaign this year, and between the match and the communication and the energy that they put behind it, they really felt like the results were there. They had a clear organizing purpose that let their communication through that entire last 2 months of the year be very straightforward and focused on accomplishing key objectives. And they also found that that the excitement that it generated, providing this match and the sort of the branding in the organization also really rallied their team. I mentioned in the beginning that GivingTuesday can feel like a virtual party for your cause. Well, one of the most important audiences that you sort of invite to the party on GivingTuesday is your staff and your team. And we have organization after organization tell us that it's one of the most fun days of the year, and I think Allison would echo that for Maryland nonprofits. That just the bringing together of people around this common purpose, with this time-limited one day of giving, is a really, really powerful way to get lots of people involved in the excitement of your campaign. Skip the social media lessons. Lots of great quotes from the grantees. I think that the biggest thing that they found was that for many of them that really struggled with this individual donor base, that they learned a tremendous amount about how to get individual donors activated, and that a lot of the continued work that RRF has done with the nonprofits that participated has been focused on how they steward and engage and activate those donors to stay and to give again in 2015. So these are a lot of ideas from my experience in working with communities around the country, but we still find that, as in all of the things that we do around GivingTuesday, because it's such an open source, do it your own way kind of movement, that a lot of our best ideas come from, the people out in the community on the ground doing the work. And so I'd be happy to answer any questions. I'd be happy to get any ideas or vet an idea if there's something you've been thinking about and want any thoughts on it. But that's the end of our formal presentation, and please let us know what you're thinking.
Great. Jamie, do you think that since we're such a small group, I could just unmute people's lines?
Yeah, let's just unmute. Yep. That's what I think.
Right.
Let's just have a conversation.
Okay, everybody, I'm unmuting your line. So if you have a question or some feedback, please tell us your name, who you're with, and ask your question.
And actually, I'd love to ask a question of the group since we've got the lines unmuted. Have any of you participated in prior years in GivingTuesday in any way? Just jump in.
Mm-hmm. Is everybody still there?
Yes, but my answer is no. No from here.
Is that Kathleen?
Well, please tell us your name, if you don't mind.
Oh, sorry. This is Robin, True with Theodoreson.
Hi, Robin.
Who are you with, Robin?
The Urban Children Foundation.
Okay. And are you considering participating this year?
Yeah, so I wanted to learn more about it. That's why I'm on the call today. I'd like to hear more about the whole BMORE, Give More. That sounds like it was really great. couple years
ago. It was
ago.
an exciting campaign that really Allison has used as kind of the jumping off point for how the state has organized, although it's in my experience now working with cities, states, and counties, cities have it's a lot easier for cities to kind of coalesce with one another because they have such common interests, and they tend to be smaller and easier to to sort of bring together around one thing. States, particularly states like Maryland with rural and urban and suburban and Eastern Shore, Western Shore splits, that kind of thing. It can be a little more challenging to kind of create that same kind of energy around the state. But what particular questions interest you about BMORE Gives More? Because both Allison and I could speak to that.
No, I didn't have a question. It's just that it sounds like it was a really huge success, and I guess is that something that maybe, I don't know, maybe in 2016 could possibly happen again?
Back to being something that's Baltimore-centered?
Well, I'm asking that because I'm in Baltimore, but yes.
Yep. Well, I think that I think our decision, what I have found and what I always say in all these campaigns is that they're really leader-driven campaigns.
Right.
And when my organization was my company was GiveCore, and we were bought by Network for Good, and they were not. They're a national company, and they didn't have Baltimore as a focus in particular. And so when the team at Maryland Nonprofit stepped up to lead the campaign, their activation is all statewide. And so in all the campaigns that I work with, the nature of this, what they define as their civic campaign, has very much to do with their organization and its mission. And so I think as long as there's, as long as it's being led by the state, it's probably going to be a statewide campaign. But many of the things that they do in the Maryland Gives More campaign mirror what we did in Baltimore, just without some of the, how you describe it, Allison, without some of the, like you can't do a food truck rally for the state. Just as an example.
Right.
It's a little more difficult.
Yep. And those were some of the things like we did, like from a kickoff standpoint. That was the nature of our kickoff. So you can do some of those kinds of things when you're in a much smaller, much more homogeneous geography.
Okay.
And Gina or Kathleen or Miriam, have any of you participated in Giving Tuesday previously?
Hi, this is Kathleen. Yes, we have. We participated last year, and we did a really great job. We raised, our goal was $5,000 because we really didn't know. First, I should tell you that PSP is a not very well-known disease. It stands for progressive supranuclear palsy. It's a rare and fatal brain disease, so not too many people know about that. And it's similar to Parkinson's and Lou Gehrig, only worse, if you can imagine that. You can't speak, you can't swallow, you can't move. There's all kinds, but your mind is really clear, which makes it even more of a devastating disease. Having said that, when you say PSP, people glaze over. They don't know what it means. So we didn't want to set our goals too high. Our constituents are small, and we have a large database, but I'm saying our constituents who are affected by these diseases are small in number. So we set a goal of $5,000, and we exceeded it by $12,000. We actually raised over $12,000.
Good for you. That's fantastic.
Yeah, which was great. It really turned out great. And we did pretty much the things that you're talking about. One of the things to help other people that are on the line is we did a couple of things. We took staff pictures and held signs up about what we wanted. We wanted to find a cure. We wanted to educate more doctors. We wanted to help families. Whatever we wanted to say, we held that up with a picture, and we posted it on Facebook. And, of course, we had our hashtag, and we also had the links on how you could donate. So that was very, very helpful for us.
Well, congratulations. Do you have a goal for this year?
Yeah, I think we're going to say $15,000, and even though it's only $3,000 more, as you know from a lot of things we've been hearing in the news with the stock market going, kind of like plummeting a little bit, we're anticipating a little decline in contributions. So I'd rather say 15 and make 20 than say 20 and make 15. So
yep.
I'm being conservative in our goal.
Well, it sounds like you've got the right energy and experience from last year to do a great job. If it's helpful, one of the things that that we'll be doing, and if you haven't already heard them, so we have done a couple of webinars already. I don't know if you've participated in them that are specifically around getting launched and telling stories. And then we did actually do one, right, Allison? We've done our monthly giving one, right?
Yes, we did it last Tuesday.
Last week, okay. I was going to say, because I'm doing so many webinars every week. I just had a minute there where I was thinking maybe we didn't do it in Maryland yet. But we also we did do one on monthly and peer fundraising last week, and that might be an interesting one for you guys to look at also, because that could be another potential activation that you guys could think about adding to your mix.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And all of those webinars, Allison, if I'm correct, they're all on the Maryland Gives More site?
They are. They're on the Nonprofit Toolkit page of MarylandGivesMore.com. So definitely go check it out.
And what did you say the name of that particular webinar was? Peer supporters?
It was monthly. What did we call it, Allison?
Monthly giving. Hold on, and peer-to-peer support, something like that. There's only a few webinars on that page, so you'll be able to find it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And if it's not there, check back in a couple days because it'll be there shortly. We're having storage issues. The files are so big, but we're sorting it out.
Okay.
Or Allison, maybe we could just send the link with the follow-up email to this webinar, send both of them out, then people will have them.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Sure. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
What other thoughts do you guys have? We answered everything. I never get to ask this because we always have everybody on mute, but was this helpful for you guys?
This is Robin, and I thought it was helpful. I really liked the case studies too. It was always nice to see in practice and and how it went.
Well, and I would say definitely we do in all the other webinars, we also talk much more tactically about nonprofit case studies. Here we were obviously focusing on foundation and funder case studies because, the nature of the topic. But the other webinars have examples of how nonprofits have participated, and those can be, those, as I said, can be re-listened to. And have we heard from Gina?
I am here, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
But yes, I found it interesting. I found it helpful. There are a couple of things that just from a different perspective.
And who are you with, Gina?
QPSP, sorry.
And did you guys participate in Giving Tuesday last year?
I was not here last year. I was with a different organization, and so I have participated before.
Okay.
But
this is Kathleen again. Gina works with me. So QPSP is the one I was talking about earlier where we raised the $12,000.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. So you guys are together.
Yeah, Gina's new, so I wanted to make sure that she attended and heard more about Giving Tuesday.
Okay, great. Well, listen, we really appreciate your time and energy, and would hope that you'll spread the word. Normally on these webinars, I don't know if any of you have participated in any of the others. When it's more general topics, we are like, we can't get off the phone because there's so many questions because we typically have hundreds of people on the phone. So this is kind of a treat to actually be able to talk to live voices rather than just questions in the chat box. So it was great to talk with all of you, and go to Maryland Gives More and get signed up so you stay in touch with the information that we're sharing. And Allison will send out a follow-up with the information from today and the copy of the monthly giving webinar. And if you ever need to connect with me, my website is generosityconsulting.com, and please let me know if I can ever be helpful.
Thank you.
Yes, everyone, and look for that email tomorrow morning, first thing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.